Hello students, today we shall be taking up the poem Fire and Ice, which has been taken from the book First Flight, Class 10 NCERT book. This has been written by the American poet Robert Frost. Robert Lee Frost was an American poet and he was honored frequently during his lifetime. In fact, he is the only poet to receive 4 Pulitzer Prizes for poetry. Fire and Ice is his most well-known and most powerful poem. Now, before we go on to the recitation and explanation of the poem, a brief background is essential. 2000 years ago, Revelations chapter that was added into the Christian Bible gave a detailed prophetic vision of the end of the world. Now, when Robert Frost added his own ideas to this, the result was this beautiful, simple, short poem, Fire and Ice. Well, this poem, which was written in 1920, is quite relevant, powerful, and thought-provoking even today. Some say the world will end in fire, some say in ice. From what I have tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. But if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction ice is also great and would suffice. The rhyme scheme is different in both the stanzas. In the first one, the rhyme scheme is ABAA, and in the next one, it is ABABA. Stanza 1 explanation. The poet begins his poem by saying, some say the world will end in fire, some say in ice. From what I have tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. Now, some say here it refers to people. It can also refer to scientists who talk of various theories on how the world is going to end. So basically, these two different perspectives of people on how the world is going to end. So some say that fire will end the world and some hold ice responsible for it. So basically, fire and ice are opposites. Fire refers to nuclear disaster. Ice, when he talks of ice, he can also talk of climate change. So these are two opposites, and in these lines, the poet highlights different opposing views on the apocalypse. So both are referred to as harbingers of death. Scientifically speaking, one has to take into consideration both these possibilities. There has been an apprehension that the global warming may burn the world out. Similarly, people fear that excessive cold may spell its doom. Then he says, from what I have tasted of desire, I hold with those who favor fire. Now, fire has a symbolic significance, and according to the poet, it stands for the negative emotions. For instance, it refers to anger, greed, lust, ruthlessness, violence, etc., etc. Now, when he says in the second line, if you say, some say in ice. So, ice on the other hand is symbolic of cold feelings. For instance, when you meet certain people, you feel good, yes, and they make you feel special and warmth can be felt. On the other hand, here the poet is basically talking of icy cold behavior. It is symbolic of cold, negative feelings like hatred, jealousy, selfishness, indifference, etc., etc. So both are different in character, but both can cause both refers to fire and ice. So both are different in character, but both can cause complete disaster, destruction. So from what I have tasted means that according to his experiences, according to the poet's experiences, desire is going to be the root cause of destruction. Okay, and his personal experiences indicate that he has observed that human beings engaging in brutal, lustful conflicts, okay, that these when they engage in such conflicts, these conflicts are due to greed, lust, ruthlessness, and this is going to be the cause, and this is going to lead to utter destruction of the world. All right. So in the last two lines, he is saying that from his own experiences that fire will be the reason of the destruction of the world. Now, stanza 2 explanation. The poet says, but if it had to perish twice, I think I know enough of hate to say that for destruction ice is also great and would suffice. So here he says in the first stanza, when he talks of fire being the cause of destruction of world, he says that fire will be the cause of destruction of the world. Here in this second stanza, he says, if the world comes to life again, it will be destroyed by ice. Now, symbolically speaking, ice refers to cold emotions like hatred, jealousy, indifference, intolerance, rigidity, and what happens when a human being is allowing all these negative feelings, he's nurturing all these negative feelings, then what happens? Yes, it suppresses your good human values. It suppresses all positivity, yes, and you get rid of all positivity, and you're surrounded by negativity. And ultimately, what will happen then? It will be a destruction of the world, and this is going to lead to the destruction of the world. So symbolically, when we are talking of ice bringing the ice being the cause, being the reason for the destruction of the world, we are basically talking of the cold emotions of human beings. Okay. Now, when we talk of this poem Fire and Ice, we should remember that there is symbolism, and through these two symbols, symbols of fire and ice, the poet has so beautifully captured the essence of the poem. Okay. Now, which are the two symbols again? Fire and ice. Fire stands for violent, fiery, negative emotions. Ice refers to the cold feelings, okay, which people nurture in them. Which are hatred, jealousy, indifference, ruthlessness, intolerance, etc., etc. Though they are different in character, they both can cause complete destruction. Now let us discuss some more poetic devices. We have spoken of the main two symbols in the poem, fire and ice. Then there is alliteration. You can see the lines. Assonance. What is assonance? It is a close repetition of the same vowel sounds within a group of words, and this occurs when vowel sounds and not letters are repeatedly used in a line. For instance, if it had to perish twice. Okay. Now I sound is repeated, which makes the line soft and musical. Okay. Anaphora, we all know, when a word or a group of words is repeated at the beginning of the sentence itself. So some say the world will end in fire, and in the next line also we have the same word as some. Powerful imagery has been used by the poet. Imagery refers to images or mental pictures which the reader can imagine through the poet's work. It is an important device which is used by many poets and writers. And why do they use this? Because it makes their work more picturesque. Okay, it makes it more powerful. So through the images of fire and ice, the poet has tried to portray the pictures of world which is surrounded by fire and ice, and which is complete, and because of them it is it is heading towards destruction and finally completely destroyed. Symbolism, again, fire and ice. Fire refers to emotions of anger, lust, greed and violence. Ice refers to hatred, indifference, insensitivity. Enjambment is a poetic device where an idea does not end with a line but is carried on to the next line or lines without any punctuation marks, comma or full stop. Okay. So this poem is a beautiful example of enjambment. Now, in this symbolic poem, the poet has beautifully highlighted, interpreted that the world will be destroyed and what will be the two main causes, fire and ice. And keeping these two symbols in mind, he has he has created a beautiful poetry. So he has used the symbols fire and ice both literally also and symbolically. Literally, these two refer to excessive global warming, okay, or excessive cold temperature, which will ultimately lead to the destruction of the world. And if we talk of symbolism, symbolically, fire refers to the negative emotions which human beings nurture in themselves. And ice again refers to all those cold emotions, and when you show indifference, when you show intolerance and rigidity towards your fellow human beings, that symbolic reference, symbolically, that is ice. Okay, ice is a symbol of that. So symbolically, fire and ice refer to all the above mentioned negative emotions in a human being that will finally become the root cause of the world's destruction. So both the fiery and the cold emotions will suppress the human values and alienate people from one another. So this short and crisp poem deals with 2000-year-old vision of the end of the world, and the poet has beautifully captured the essence, and he has been able to convey this message in a very powerful manner. This poem, which was written in 1920, even today in 2022, stands the test of time. It's relevant as it was way back in 1920. I hope you enjoyed the recitation, explanation, and thank you for watching and subscribing.